This is Viterbi Voices, your chance to hear stories about research, classes, student life, and more.
Directly from our students, faculty, and other members of our engineering community. All right here at the USC Viterbi School of Engineering.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back into Viterbi Voices. As usual, I am one of your hosts. My name is Paul Ledesma, Director of Undergraduate Admission at the USC Viterbi School of Engineering.
And my name is Audrey Roberts. I'm a senior studying mechanical engineering here at USC.
And a first-timer to the podcast. Cameron, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hi, guys. I'm Cameron. I'm a sophomore studying computer science business admin from the great city of Chicago, Illinois.
All right, from Chicago, one of my favorite places. Cameron, this is your first podcast episode. Are you a big podcast listener? What do you like to listen to?
So actually, I'm starting to get into some podcasts. So I'm a big tech fan. I follow lots of technology on YouTube. I follow this one podcast. It's called The Waveform. It talks about like tech news, like phones, tablets, consumer electronics. I listen to The Daily by the New York Times. If you guys know that, that's pretty fire. So I'm trying to get more into it. I need recommendations.
Here's a good New York Times tech combo podcast recommendation. Sway. It's from the New York Times as well, but it's their tech columnists. It's really good. Yeah.
Sway. All right.
I'll have to check it out. Sway. Okay.
It's not all tech, but it's sort of like talking to influential people. And Kara Swisher runs it, and she's a great interviewer. So.
Oh yeah. Definitely. I love The Daily. Sometimes it's like really long. And so I'm looking for just like what's happening. And so it depends. I will also do Up First by NPR. That is that is actually oddly my daily routine of waking up and listening to that. It's a perfect right away. But let's get back to what we're talking about. Cameron, you are a first timer here, but you bring us a cool episode here. You want to tell everybody what this episode is all about?
Yeah, so I'm a part of this organization. It's called the National Society of Black Engineers. It's the USC's chapter. I'm on the executive board and had a great interview with Cheyenne. She's a senior, also studying my same major. She's the president of USC NSBE. And so we just had a great chat about all things NSBE, like just talking about what the experience is, how the org goes, and just everything that goes into it.
Awesome, Cheyenne. It's very, very cool. So I'm excited for us to dive right into this one and for everyone to listen in. Let's get it out of the way and hand it over to you and Cheyenne to talk about the National Society of Black Engineers, otherwise known as NSBE.
Welcome, everyone. Today, I am joined by none other than Cheyenne. This is the president of NSBE. So I'm going to go ahead and let her introduce herself. So just tell everyone your name, your major, your hometown.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for having me, Cameron. Hi, everybody. My name is Cheyenne Gaima. I'm a senior at USC Viterbi studying computer science and business administration. And I am of Cameroonian heritage, originally from Silver Spring, Maryland.
Awesome. And so just in case it wasn't covered, I'm Cameron. I'm a sophomore studying computer science and business, but I was mechanical engineering. So don't think that all the engineers at NSBE are CS. We do have a lot of CS people, but we do a lot of things for engineering. And yeah, so let's just go ahead and get started by Cheyenne telling like the audience. I know some students may not be familiar with NSBE, so we keep on using this acronym. What exactly is NSBE in a nutshell?
Absolutely. Well, NSBE stands for the National Society of Black Engineers. It is a national organization that is a conglomerate of a bunch of smaller chapters. The chapters exist at the professional level. They also exist at the collegiate level, which is what we are. USC has a NSBE chapter. And there are also NSBE junior chapters for K through 12 and more industry-related chapters within NSBE as well. So NSBE is prominently divided into 6 different geographical regions, and us on the West Coast are a part of NSBE Region 6.
Very cool. Yeah, and so as like Cheyenne mentioned, NSBE, since it's broad, not only is it national within the US, but it's also international. There's different chapters with all the different colleges. USC happens to be one of them, but no matter where you go, more than likely any school has a has a NSBE chapter rather, although we would like to say USC NSBE is one of the best. We did win, what was that, a chapter of the year? Was it like 2-3 years ago, I think?
Chapter of the year 2018. So we are objectively one of the best chapters in the country.
Yes. So if that doesn't tell you that USC NSBE is good, I really can't tell you what it is. They really chose us out of all of us. So kind of getting down to like what exactly NSBE does. So NSBE is, at least in the collegiate level, it's really, I find it's focused on two main things. It really is focused on building very professional organizations. So understanding to kind of build those skills of professional networking, resume, all that other stuff. But it's also really a good chance to provide a good community for everyone. So Cheyenne, can you just talk about your experience, like in either one of those, or just how you've really seen like NSBE and what it's been useful for?
Absolutely. So probably the biggest value NSBE has to me is being a space for Black engineers to confide in each other, to lean on each other, to learn from each other. So that social aspect is one of the most important parts of USC NSBE, fostering that inclusive and inviting space for Black engineers, because of course there is a scarcity of us at USC Viterbi and just statistically, generally, which is why one of the NSBE missions is to graduate 10,000 Black engineers by 2025. So we're coming up soon on that goal. But USC NSBE aims to, within our own engineering community, build up Black engineers and really make them know that they are welcome, they are valued, and they have so much that they can offer their own engineering communities and the broader national community as well. On the other end of it, like you said, USC NSBE is a professional organization. So a lot of professional development goes into programming and goes into outreach. We connect with a multitude of different industry organizations. We connect with our industry partners here on campus to put on workshops and information sessions and just ways that NSBE students and also the broader Viterbi community can build up their resume or learn how to do an elevator pitch or even actually directly recruit with industry representatives.
Very cool. Yeah, and kind of building off of that, just we talked a little bit about the mission of NSBE. I must be inclined to say, I don't know if it's going to show up on recording, so I'll just say it. The NSBE mission is to increase the number of
culturally responsible
Black
engineers
who excel academically,
succeed professionally,
and positively
impact the community. You know, we had to both say it. We had to both say it.
So usually when you're in person, as soon as we start saying the NSBE mission, it's very important everybody stands up and we all say it in unison. I guess the closest thing you can say is some sort of like national anthem, although I really wouldn't compare it to that. It's just, that's the mission statement. That's how we say it. It's, you'll go everywhere, no matter the conventions, you go to other chapters, whether you're part of NSBE, that's kind of the mission. And so it's definitely focused on really building that in community, but also making sure that Black engineers exist, Black engineers are represented, and that we have a seat at the table. So
absolutely. And if I can just touch a little bit more on that. So everything that we do is absolutely centered around that mission, like you said. So making sure that Black engineers at Viterbi are excelling academically. So, you know, we provide study spaces for each other. We lean on each other for support for materials and for advice on academic work. So excelling academically, succeeding professionally, like I said, we provide as many different types of professional networking events as we can so that our members are exposed to industry representatives. And last but absolutely not least, positively impacting the community. So making sure that, you know, we are here, we've made it to USC, we are one of the best chapters in the country, and it's our job and it's our duty to pay it forward to the next generation of Black engineers, whether that is the incoming freshmen or even the younger students who are just getting exposed to engineering. And also being in a city like LA, where there are a lot of students who are so bright and so eager to enter this engineering and STEM space, but may not necessarily have all the resources, or who do have the resources, but just don't necessarily have the guidance or the insight. We are honored to be role models in that aspect and pay it forward.
Absolutely. And that community service part is really important. We have a whole entire chair dedicated to that. So the PCI, the Pre-Collegiate Initiative, I believe, is the pre-collegiate area. And so we really, that whole entire section is focused on outreaching K through 12 students within the LA area. I remember before the pandemic last year, I attended my first PCI event, and it was for coding. And so I was still mechanical engineering at the time, and they were asking the students to code in Python. And I was like, oh, I didn't realize what I signed up for. Luckily, Python was very easy to hop into. You know, you just like put a tab, put a while loop, and hop into it. And I was like, I guess I can make this work. But it was just so cool, like being able to, you know, like see the students who were like really interested, and like, they're fascinated, like, wow, this is actually really cool. And I was like, I know, right? Like I'm like laughing because like I think this is awesome.
I agree.
Too. Exactly. It's like, it's just seeing that, like the fact that you see where I was, like I used to be interested in engineering like at that age, and it's like, wow, they are too. So that community service aspect was really important. Do you have any experiences like that, Cheyenne? Like, or when you did your first PCI event, how was that?
Absolutely. It was honestly just so rewarding to see the joy in the students' faces. I remember last year, I'm going to say early 2020, before the pandemic, when we had our Introduce High School Students to Engineering Day. And we just had in our Viterbi E-Quad, which is just the space at Viterbi for outdoor activities. We just had a bunch of students coming in and learning about programming, learning about building rockets, and just the look on students' faces when they finally got their code to run, or they finally got, you know, that one project that they're working on complete. It's literally the exact same feeling that I have every single time I complete an assignment, and just that satisfaction that I saw in them just reminded me not only why I love engineering, but also why I do want to pay it forward and expose people to how absolutely rewarding this field and this major can be.
It's a really important part, and it's so great to especially give back in a community like LA. It's a unique opportunity you have being in such a good area. So kind of like shifting gears like to what the org does inside of USC. So we have the structure. It's sometimes it changes, but it's generally that we have a GBM, so a general body meeting every Monday, and these take the form of a variety of events. So some days it can be simple as, hey guys, we're just doing a wellness check-in. So we had one last week actually where it's just, let's check in, see how everybody's doing, really kind of fostering that community. Other times it can be one of those more professional networking events. So I remember for my first GBM freshman year, we brought in Boeing. And at the time I was like, I want to work for Boeing. That's my dream company. Let's do it. And I remember I accidentally came up with like a whole suit jacket, and I was like sweating. It was like awful. I had to go back and change, but it was just really cool. Like listening to the Boeing representative talk about all the positions they had, all of the ways that you can get involved, and then being able to network after. So they had the representative come after, I can't even remember his name, it feels like so long ago. And I was able to talk to him and ask him like, you know, about the positions at Boeing and what they're really looking for. And, you know, I was really trying to hopefully get a freshman internship, because everybody's like, you can't get an internship as a freshman. I'm like, that's not true. It wasn't with
Watch
Boeing.
me.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't with Boeing at the time, but you can do it. And I think that part of that was just getting used to networking, getting used to all the mock interviews and the other events. And yeah, that first GBM really just kind of kicked it off for me, I'd say. Just really getting used to that whole networking event and getting used to NSBE.
Absolutely. If I could kind of echo that a little bit. So my first GBM was the second semester of my freshman year. My first semester, I was still in this space where I was trying to figure out who I was and where I was within the engineering space. And it wasn't until I found NSBE my second semester that I knew that engineering was something that I could do, because the community there did exist, right? And so my first GBM, I finally showed my face after all of these weeks, all of these Mondays going by. You know, it was just one of those feelings of imposter syndrome. Like, do I even actually belong in engineering? Do I belong in Viterbi? Can I claim myself as a Black engineer? And it wasn't until I, went to my first NSBE meeting and was welcomed with the most open arms, and everybody was like, finally, Cheyenne. And it's really funny because I look back on, there actually is a picture of that exact GBM. And I just look back on how, naive I was and just how eager I was to join this community that was honestly waiting for me. Right. And so, Honestly, my favorite experiences are the GBMs, getting a chance to, especially when they were in person. We do what we can online now, but especially when they were in person, it was just like a little getaway after, after maybe a long weekend of homework or preparing for a long week of schoolwork. It was just one of those things where 7 o'clock on Monday, I knew that there would be people who would want to see my face, who would want to hear my stories, people that I could eat dinner with. We always had dinner every single GBM. Oh my gosh, it honestly was one of the most rewarding experiences of my college career. And I'm so glad that, even though I did hesitate that first semester, I'm so glad that I joined my freshman year, and now so proud and humbled to say that I've made it up as president, and I'm kind of giving back in that way.
That's so awesome. I didn't know like that you didn't do like freshman, you didn't do the first semester of freshman year. Like did like an upperclassman tell you about it, or like how did you originally find out? Because I feel like that's kind of the main thing. It's like we exist, but it's very hard to get people to know. Like, how did you find out about it?
Absolutely. So I actually found out about NSBE and knew NSBE existed before I even came to USC. So I was an Explore student when I came to interview for my scholarship, and the president at the time, or a member of NSBE at the time who was president my freshman year, Shayna Douglas, she was a Viterbi student ambassador. And so she plugged NSBE to me when I was interviewing for my scholarship at Explore. And so I knew that the community existed, but I think for me, it was more so, coming into college, moving so far away from home, I honestly didn't know who I was and didn't really identify as an engineer yet. So I felt kind of, for lack of a better term, like an imposter. And I didn't know if, I went to this space of Black engineers, would I be accepted? Would I be seen as a fraud? Even though, of course, I was only a freshman, nobody knows what they're doing freshman year.
Absolutely.
But I totally agree, Cameron. I think that it's really hard to, almost like a learning curve almost, it's really hard to kind of get people in. But once they're in, they're 100% welcomed, and they're 100% shown that this is a community for them. So I'm really glad that I, eventually made that push. And I think that it was one of our alumni, Io, who finally got me to come to that first meeting. And it's been history since.
Io, man, the good times. He, great member, was the one who actually convinced me to switch to CS from mechanical engineering. He was like, if you don't do it, you'll regret it. That's a knowledge drop, I guess. If you want to make the switch, just go ahead and make the switch. But yeah, that first time, it can be kind of daunting a little bit coming into the space. But I think NSBE does such a, I don't know, I really liked it because I didn't feel any sort of pressure. I was able to just come up and I was able to be myself. I think that's the main thing, especially when you're coming into college. You're like, oh, are they going to judge me? What are they going to think? Because these are all questions, like, even if you don't want to admit it, you kind of all have these, like, small insecurities inside of us. But NSBE did a really good job of making that, kind of go away. You're like, okay, we accept you for who you are. Like, you're here, we want to support you. And that support system is amazing. Like, I remember for my intro to mechanical engineering class, I knew some people from the Viterbi Summer Institute, but I could imagine had I not went to that, I wouldn't have known anybody in the class. I would have been the only person. I think is, a lot of students may figure out when you, go to an institution where, Black students and, students of color are a minority, you tend to try to find your other students. And so NSBE was a great way to connect with me. Okay, here, like, I'm in AME 101 as a class. Here's a bunch of other mechanical engineers who are AME 101. I see you at the GVM, let's make a study group. And that was the only way I passed that class, was using that study group. But it's just the little things like that. Exactly. Like, it's just the little things like that coming to the meet, you wouldn't initially expect that you join it for all these other reasons. And it's like, that's what's going to get you through there. It's not like anything else. It's having that connection with everyone.
100% agree. A lot of my fondest moments are spending hours and hours, coding 104 assignments with a lot of my NSBE pals. I very distinctly remember, so for those of you who may not know, CS 104 is data structures and object-oriented programming. It's like the notorious class you have to get over to claim your CS major as your own and to kind of, make it through the ranks as a CS major. And so it's notoriously hard, but, as it should be. One of my fondest memories is being in Taper Hall after a NSBE GBM with another fellow NSBE member, Dune, and another fellow NSBE member, Chris, who actually is an alumni. He was a master's student, and we stole Chris's night, okay? And he allowed us to steal it. He literally sat with us there for hours, making sure that we understood that assignment. And that moment, that was just the moment I knew this community is just invaluable. It's people who are going through the exact same thing as you, people who have gone through the exact same thing as you, and want nothing but to see you succeed, because this is a small community, and it is a community where we're scarce. And of course, if we've made it up, we owe it to everybody else to help them up as well. So I value that so much. And that was the moment I knew, even though I was suffering, even though I was crying, that was the moment I knew I could do it, because no matter what, I'd always have a support system.
Exactly. And that's absolutely true. We're not just saying that. Literally before the recording, Cheyenne was just offering her help in 104, because I'm in it right now. So it's very real. It's very true. And that's really some of the best way you're going to make it through, is having someone else who did it before you help you. So I kind of wanted to also talk about like what else the org does outside of this. I feel like we host our GBMs, but we host a ton of events outside of GBMs. So I say that because we have an event coming up like in real time as we're recording this, but we have so many other events, so many other gatherings, so many other things. So I want to talk about both like the events we have at USC and then also the conferences. But we can start with like some of the conferences are lit. We'll start with like the events first. So typically, or we want to say like, what are the type of events we plan? Like, what do we try to do them around and all that stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. So we leverage a lot of our GBMs, like you said, for professional events. But outside of that, we also try to plan a lot of social events, a lot of gatherings. We try to do a lot of inter-org mixing with a lot of the other Viterbi organizations. So NSBE is actually an umbrella org of an organization at USC called the Center for Engineering Diversity, where we house the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers, the queers in engineering and STEM, there's the women in engineering. And so we try to do a lot of inter events with those organizations. Probably one of my favorites that I can remember is our NSBE ship Halloween party that we did in 2019. So much fun. We did a NSBE SWE making space in the workplace, one of my signature events that honestly was incredible. We have done, even just recently, we collaborated with the leading student incubator organization on campus, Lava Lab, to host a pitch competition that Cameron actually competed in. And it's just little things like that, pretty much finding little ways to exert our presence as Black engineers outside of our own space, right? Those have been, of course, the professional events are key and valuable, but those events have honestly sustained my love for engineering outside of the very rigid and very strict nature of professionalism, right? So like Cameron said, in real time, we're hosting in less than an hour a Black History Month trivia night to kind of get people, wrap up Black History Month, wrap up Engineers Week, and get people excited about Black engineers. And so we try to do just a multitude of different events. And I'm so lucky that, we have an e-board this semester of people who are excited and eager and want to kind of create these events. We have done inter-regional events. We have a interregional family feud night coming up with other NSBE chapters in the Southern California area. And yeah, we just try to do honestly as much as we can to exert our presence as Black engineers and have fun with each other, truly.
Absolutely, yeah. And the events are really some of the best ways to do it, especially like depending on people's schedules. Sometimes the GBMs, they switch sometimes semesters, but they are on Mondays. Sometimes like last semester, they were on Tuesdays. But the whole point is that you don't have to just necessarily show up like, oh, if you don't come to the GBM, you won't be an NSBE member. Like usually during the weeks, there's like Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday where we have study nights, and there would be a big bag of snacks. You could just come in and we, just work. You could like talk. There may be someone who was there. You could ask for help. One time we did the Pomodoro technique, which Cheyenne, I think you were the one who put me onto that. That has saved me so much time. I literally used that on my last programming assignment. It saved me through the night. We have things like study nights, all the other events. They're just really useful. So I remember we had for the of course the SC rivalry game versus UCLA, we had a kickball for last semester, so fall 2019. We played a kickball game. I don't think I was there. I don't really remember what I was doing. I might have been sort of out of it after yelling my lungs out at Slovis to come back, to make a comeback. But I heard that was fun. And then the Family Feud night. And then the other little things like for my freshman year, so I'm class of 2023, and they had a Jordan year mixer. So I heard like that was really cool. And there's like just a bunch of other things. We have even a freshman transfer check-in coming up in a little bit. And so all those other events are really cool. Just to kind of cultivate the culture, I guess you could say. It's I like to say like NSBE's for the culture. That's my inside thing. But when I go to NSBE, it's for the culture. I can't get the culture anywhere else.
And nowhere else. And I have heard you say that a lot. And I love that saying, Cameron, because no, it really is for the culture. And it really is, to show that, we can take up this space and still be ourselves. We can take up this space and still laugh with each other and still talk about all the things that we want to talk about while being engineers. You know what I'm saying? And so it's really hard sometimes to claim that in your other classrooms. Not saying it's impossible, of course not, but it's really hard sometimes to claim that in your lab groups or claim that in your project groups or in the McCarthy Lounge. You know what I'm saying? But sorry, McCarthy is a residential building on campus. But in NSBE, you're free and completely open to be yourself and know that, of course, we're all unique and we all have our own different experiences, but we also all have this shared experience, and we can express that in so many different ways through so many different events, and just enjoy that time with each other. So you listed so many great events, and they're just, all stored in the back of my head, but all, like you said, all of these little things just make up that experience for the culture.
Speaking of for the culture, the other event I want to talk to, this is the one I'm happy about. I haven't been to one as a college student, and but it's the NSBE, the conferences. So NSBE is like, since it's both national, international, and there's the different regions, we have both what's called the Fall Regional Conference. And so this is where each of the conferences, so like regions 1 through 6, will have a smaller version of the conference where all the different collegiate chapters, all the different professionals, all the different, even like K through 12 chapters, since there is a NSBE junior section, they'll all come to those regional events. And then of course there's the national. So this happens around, I think in March, and like end of March, I believe, when I did it. So this is when it's like a mecca, like everybody's just descending on this city for like was like a couple days, like 3 or 4 days. And it's just like, you've got exactly at 4 days, you've got college students, you've got professionals, you've got like PhD students presenting like cutting edge research, you've got keynote speakers, you've got like little kids. Like I was there like as a freshman when I was in Boston in 2016, I think was the Boston. At that one, it was insane. In fact, I think we probably were at the same conference. Did you go to did you go to the conference in 2017? Like nationals in 2017?
I did.
I was at, and it was in, what was it? Kansas City?
Yes. That's crazy how we're connected in that way, Cameron.
Exactly, because I went to the one in high school because I was a part of the NSBE high school. So I'm like, that's crazy. I'm talking to people who we were probably in the same room. Like,
that is crazy. So NSBE National Conference, like you said, it is the hotspot. If anything, right? If you don't go to meetings, if you don't go to events, NSBE National Conference is the way to go. And I'm so sorry, Cameron, that you haven't yet been during your college experience. Quick plug, next year, hopefully if it's in person, it will be hosted in Anaheim. So it'll be a little bit close to home, close to USC, I guess I should say. But I remember my first NSBE National Conference. It was the first time in my life I had ever seen a room, a building of that many Black professionals. And I was like, oh my God, it's real. And like, they exist, right? It's like just so many smart, incredible, ambitious, qualified, successful Black professionals. And I was like, okay, this is reality. And I think that's what's so important about that space is, Marin Wright told us you can't be what you can't see. And it's like when you walk into that room and you see people not literally walking the walk, right? you're like, okay, maybe I could do this. And it's just an instant boost of confidence, right? And so, like you said, Cameron, there are a lot of workshops, a lot of presentations, but probably the most notable is the career fairs. So they have on-site career fairs, 2 days. It's literally just imagine the biggest gymnasium we've ever seen, with a bunch of different industry representatives doing on-site recruiting, on-site interviews. And, you walk into this room and you see so many ambitious students, so many people who are so eager to, join these companies, but also a lot of industry representatives who are so eager to meet students. And it's like, wow, like I finally feel like I can, thrive in a space like this. And I finally feel like I can be accepted in a space like this. And it was just life-changing for me, completely life-changing. And I love NSBE National Conference. Like I said, but I have to say it again, 2018 NSBE National Organization of the Year was us. And so those awards go out during National Conference to kind of recognize chapters in the country that have been doing really great things. So honestly, all around great experience. This year it will be virtual. So we're excited to see how that will play out. But always looking forward to that event because it truly, truly is really rewarding.
Absolutely. Also, now that I just think about it, I also went to conference. I went to conference in 2016, 17, and 18. I didn't go in 19 because I didn't do NSBE. So it's crazy to me that I was at the Torch Awards, which is like their annual end of conference award ceremony. I was most likely there when what is now my future alma mater, my current school, USC, was getting the award.
That is fate.
I think that's absolute. That's got to be like fate, the universe, whatever you want to believe. Like that's got to be telling me something that what I should have went to USC. It primed me like multiple years before I needed to go.
I love it.
Like Cheyenne, I think you definitely hit like what nationals is. Like it's just like even for me, like I think for a lot of students, like or just people in general, like especially Black engineers, like you want to be a Black engineer, but it's so hard to really see, find like role models and find examples of, hey, here's a Black engineer who does it, especially if you're coming from, maybe you're one of the only Black students in your high school, like a very small pool. I feel like for me, I come from a different place. My high school is predominantly Black. We have like 90+% Black students, and but no one really knew what engineering was. No one really wants to do it. I had to go like really far out of the way to find like other Black students at other schools to do it. And so regardless of where it's just great, honestly, being able to see that. It's like you can have a vision. You can see where you are. You can see like aspirational goals and really see, okay, this is where I want to be in 5 years. I want to graduate from school. In 10 years, I want to have my PhD. There's like so many engineering PhDs. Was like, wow, they're really out here like building the future pretty much, and they're presenting at the conferences. And then the career fairs, I think that's probably one of the most important things that I didn't realize like until I went to the career fair. I mean, every company imaginable in every industry is currently looking to recruit people. So usually the recruiting process is long. You'll apply in the fall. They'll we'll give you 2 weeks and they'll give you an interview. Then they'll give you a month. Here's another interview. It'll take forever. Here, you can talk to a recruiter, someone who's like from at company X. You can get an interview within 24 hours, and they're looking to hire students too. That's like they're looking to fill these positions.
Absolutely, Cameron. I just wanted to echo that conferences are some of like people go to conferences to get jobs, and people get jobs at conferences. And we have gotten so many testimonials, right? Because a lot of engineering recruiting, actually, let me just speak for the computer science space. I'm not totally sure about the rest, but a lot of recruiting happens in the fall. But a lot of students really, really rely on the conference in March if they haven't had, secured anything yet to get a job there, because it's very possible, it's very common, and there are people who are so eager about hiring students during those conferences. So it's always, a really great story after. So normally when we're in person, we rent an Airbnb and, we're all having fun, and we come back from a long day of conference and everybody is just like, I got this interview, I got this internship, and we're all just celebrating with each other and just eating a bunch of food. And it's just one of the best things, it's so much fun.
Yeah, like it sounds like such a vibe. And I know like for mechanical engineering, it's a very similar process. And most engineers are like, engineering happens, like engineering recruiting typically happens in the fall. It's aligned with a lot of other industries. And so that's why Fall Regional Conference is great too, because it's yet another time in the midst of the quote unquote thick of the engineering recruiting process. And I remember, so I'm a sophomore, two of my sophomore friends, Christopher and Maria, sorry, shameless plug, but I need to toot their horns. They went to Fall Regional Conference. Chris was a mechanical engineer. Maria was an industrial systems engineer. Maria was able to get a job at Chevron in the information technology program, and Chris got a job working at NASA JPL both as freshmen, mind you, from the Fall Regional Conference. And this is after everybody said, oh, freshmen don't get internships. It's so hard to get an internship as a freshman. Don't be worried. I don't believe it. I saw it happen in front of my very eyes. Like, I came back and I was like, here's the letter, here's the t-shirt and the workstation from it. Like, yeah, that was just like probably the coolest thing in a while. Like, they're recruiting, not to mention, like, since I'm working at Microsoft, I literally see the postings where they're like, here's a posting for like software engineer NSBE conference. So like, there's literally a job posting just for NSBE conferences. So it is elite in the recruiting aspect, absolutely. Yeah, I feel like we talked about so much. I feel like the passion is really showing through. NSBE is like that org. I was like, if really nothing else, I wanted to join NSBE just because I knew it was like all around. There's just so many things. Like, there's just, I know it's like, seems like, oh, they're just hyping us. Like, no, we really enjoy it. You like find most activities are something that you just can't shake. And like, I don't think NSBE is something I can really shake from that. And kind of what I want.
NSBE has been. Oh, I'm so sorry, Kim.
Oh, it was going to be a very corny question, so please go ahead.
No, don't go.
Because I was going to simply say, like, what do you like? Because I know for me it's been short, so I don't have like a short list of like top memories. But like, what would you say like was one of your like favorite memories you can feel from like a NSBE meeting, an event, like a conference, like something just like really joyous? Like, and that's very like cliche and like corny, but I love corny.
So one out of my favorite NSBE moments, experiences that will always be near and dear to my heart was when we went to a national conference in Detroit. And one of our members is a Detroit native. And so after a long day of conference and recruiting, and we were just all so tired, so exhausted, her family, so shout out to Chris Jordan, who is now a full-time research engineer at Ford in the Bay Area. Shout out to Chris Jordan, who did her master's work at USC, but she did her undergraduate work at her hometown in Michigan. Her entire family invited all of our chapter, and I'm talking almost 50 people who attended that conference, to her home, cooked us a lavish dinner. We're all in her house, from evening till past morning, and laughing and talking. And, we celebrated somebody's birthday there, and there was so much food, so many laughs. It was honestly one of the most rewarding moments of my life, just knowing that, after this already amazing experience at the conference, we then got to see the lives and homes of one of our dearest members who welcomed us with such open arms. And we're all just there talking and dancing and laughing and eating dinner at a NSBE member's house in Michigan. And it was just so familial. It was so warm. It was so amazing. And oh, I loved that moment. I loved that moment so much. And I'm so glad that I got to be a part of it during that conference. And thank you so much, Chris. Thank you to the Jordans for hosting us that day, because it's truly an event that I will never forget.
Oh my gosh, that sounds like picture perfect. Yeah, I remember Detroit. It was it was like spring 2019. That was the one I didn't talk to, but that sounds incredible. I feel like that's the type of connection that you only really can get from this. And something else I want to touch on, this will probably be the last topic. I want to be respectful of your time. So I'll just preface it like this. I think that we talk a lot about, Black students in engineering. Obviously, there's a lack of it. I feel like people are improving. The goal is to increase it. But I feel like especially like Black women is something that's really important. So I understand, like, as a male, like, just come into the space, it's been male dominated forever. And it's something that I really can't touch on. But like being on the e-board, I've seen like the strides that like NSBE has made, like in both, like, I think it's the system and like WNSBE, so Women in NSBE. So like, I just love for you to talk about that, since like it's important, not just to increase the number of Black engineers, but making sure Black women are represented too. So like, can you just talk about that, like, and what you've seen in your experience?
Absolutely. And thank you so much for bringing that up, Cameron. I think that one of the things I'm most proud of is being a woman leader within NSBE. And not only that, but being surrounded by so many other passionate and so many other driven women, Black women, who are so eager to help out all of our other fellow sisters. So a group of students within NSBE, absolutely have to plug Jessica Brown, Randy Burley, and recently added freshman Victoria Pinkett, who have been working so hard to create within our NSBE chapter, formerly known as Women in NSBE, now known as SISTEM, Sisters in STEM, just an inclusive space for Black women to lean on each other within NSBE, because we are a little bit more of a unique group and a little bit more of an underrepresented group within the engineering space. And so last semester, there were a couple of really great events. We had Black women alumni. We had an event where we hosted Black engineering faculty, Black engineering faculty and staff. And it's just one of those, spaces that is so easily overlooked, Cameron, like you said, but is so, so, so indispensable to the success and to the confidence of Black women engineers. And I'm just so happy that we have people who are thinking about this, and we have people who are excited to create that space within NSBE already.
Absolutely. Well, that was so good. Also, I'm going to shamelessly plug this since it's on the Turby Voices. If you want to learn more about listening to specifically women leadership, I feel like that's a big important thing. Not only is Cheyenne an excellent leader, and also a good representative of women leadership, we also have an entire podcast dedicated to that. It's 6-201 female leadership in Viterbi. Highly recommend you check it out, just because it's great to see, not only hear about the cool clubs and orgs at USC, but just also hearing what it's like to be from a woman perspective. Since again, I think Viterbi's now at 50-50 gender parity, but just understanding what that really means in terms of leadership, since you can have students, but who's running the show. And Absolutely. So again, I'm really glad to that these initiatives are coming up, because they're super important, and because not only is representation important, as we see from NSBE, but in all areas too. So the intersectionality of no matter what how you identify as, making sure that you're represented, you feel safe, welcome, and at home. And I feel like NSBE and all the other orgs really do a good job at that. So SHIP, SWE, Quest, all of them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm really proud to be part of this cohort of women leaders who are absolutely killing it.
All right. Well, I think we've talked a lot about everything NSBE. It's gotten emotional. It's been everything. But I think we pretty much captured an essence of what exactly I think NSBE is, what NSBE has to offer. And I want to say, Cheyenne, yes, thank you so much for coming on, talking, sharing your experience and perspective. It's been amazing. I feel like it's gonna be really great and really informative just to have people hear and listen about what NSBE is, why we love it so much, and just how it really impacts the LA community. So again, thank you so much. I truly appreciate you coming on and talking.
Thank you so much for having me, Cameron. And if anybody has any questions, I'm more than happy to chat with any prospective students. You can reach me at my email, gaima@usc.edu. And I hope to see or hear from some of you soon. Fight on.
Awesome. Fight on.
Awesome. And thanks so much, Cameron, for bringing us this episode. I'm excited that we have an original interview with Cheyenne this semester, as last semester we sort of re-released an episode she was on with sort of our sister podcast, Escape Velocity. So thanks so much for doing that.
That's right. Technically, this is Cheyenne's second time on our podcast, but the first time with a native interview from us. Cameron, what was something that you learned that you maybe didn't know before you went into this conversation with Cheyenne?
I didn't realize, one of the things I didn't realize was that, similar to at least a lot of students, Cheyenne really didn't know about NSBE when she first came in. She started her second semester, her freshman year, which is really funny because she's the president now. She thought, she was involved since day one. She had such cold feet coming in. I was like, wow, I didn't realize that at all.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's so interesting that, and you two could probably reflect on this with your own lives. It's what you imagine you're going to do as you go into college versus what you actually do, and it's a little bbit different of your expectations of all the things you're going to do right away. But then you realize, maybe I'll take some time here or there to slow it down a little bit. With NSBE in particular, Cameron, what has been your most valuable takeaway of your time in NSBE?
It's really just been the connection to the community and learning from people who were ahead of me, at least. Like the reason why I switched majors, because I was mechanical engineering first, was because an NSBE member who had been in my same spot and saw that, hey, you seeming like you're like coding. I was you 3 years ago and I didn't switch. And now I wish I would have done it. And so that was just something really cool learning from someone who was right where I was, and just that like good amount of mentorship, like that was just really amazing. And it was a good friend too. So like he's graduated now, but we still text and keep up. So it was just that point right there.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And we have a number of listeners out there that are Black high school students that are thinking about this idea of professions or majors in STEM fields, and Black students are severely historically marginalized in these types of communities, specifically in engineering communities. And although we do, we're doing better than national averages, we're still not doing well enough. What's something that you want high school students or transfer students at other universities to know about the Black community here at USC and the Black community in the Viterbi School of Engineering?
Yeah, well, I think that one of the main things about the Black community at USC is that it's very diverse within and of itself. There's so many different, types of Black people. So not only, since it's just like not only like, Black American students, but also like African American, from Nigerian American, Ghanaian American. So there's such a good diversity in that. And then within NSBE, it's just so close knit. It really feels like a family. I'm an only child, so I really don't know the brother, sister, sibling interaction. I know some people are like, what? Like, trust me, I don't know. I wish I would have had it some days. But it's like such a family. They look out for me. It comes to me and like, hey, how are you? Have you had a meal? How's your week going? And like, just someone checking into me, like that personal connection, reaching out on Slack. It's there. It's real. People care about you. So I feel like it's a good thing when times get tough and you're kind of feeling down to know that someone cares about you and someone's trying to make sure that you're staying up and you're getting your stuff done.
That's great. Thank you. And I know we've been away from campus for a long time, but when we do get back to some sort of sense of normal, as we're kind of getting back to that element, what's the first thing that you and NSBE are planning, or what are you excited to do that maybe you haven't had a chance to do because we've been so distanced and apart and virtual for so long?
Well, it's not the first thing we're going to be doing. We'll probably do some type of boba meetup, some type of meetup on the village. But the one thing I'm excited for, they had the last time I was on campus was our Friendsgiving. So everybody brought a meal, a dish that they cooked, and we had it in our ZHS room, like Mondays at 7. I'm hyped for that because now I have access to a kitchen, and I've gotten really good at cooking all the Thanksgiving dishes I like to cook. So I would like to bring something and taste it. So I'm really hyped for that.
What's your dish? What are you gonna? What's your go-to? What's your thing you're gonna impress people with?
So it depends. Well, the classic one that I do is a Southern style peach cobbler. That's my classic. Yes, that's a good one.
I would like some peach cobbler right now. Now I'm hungry. On that note, I think we should get out of the way because it is about dinner time here. I need to go figure that out. And you got me thinking about food and sweets. So thank you, Cameron, for bringing this conversation to the podcast. Good to see you, Audrey. And for all of you listening out there, stay tuned. More new episodes coming next week.